In 1994, the world's oldest known temple was discovered in the remote hills of southeastern Turkey. Its name is Göbekli Tepe, which means the hill of the potbelly in English, and it predates Stonehenge by 6,000 years. The archaeologists excavating the site unearthed dozens of T-shaped pillars carved with strange alien-looking creatures, some 2 stories tall, along with mysterious holes that may have been used for rituals or ceremonies. But for decades, no one could figure out what these rituals were for or who was performing them. It was just assumed that they were performed by primitive hunter-gatherers who suddenly developed a taste for farming, settling down and worshipping strange deities. And then, in 2023, everything changed. An international team of researchers found a small buried tablet that looked like a piece of slate with some markings on it. When they cleaned off the dirt and grime, they realized that it contained both written symbols and musical notations. After 3 years of painstaking work, the team announced that they had reconstructed the world's oldest known song, which was recorded on that tablet. It's called The Lost Chant of Göbekli Tepe. And now you can listen to it for yourself because it was played live around the world over the internet. But here's the thing. While it was being broadcast, weird things started happening all over the world. People reported sudden blackouts, seizures, visions, hallucinations. Some people even claimed to see massive humanoid figures made of rock standing perfectly still inside large stone circles, while others saw visions of enormous winged serpents soaring across the sky. But there was something else strange about the lost chant of Göbekli Tepe. After the team finished playing it, they decided to record their instruments in the same way the ancient people had recorded theirs. Then they played it back inside the temple itself, and the stone pillars started vibrating as if they were answering back. What does it all mean? What was this ancient chant? What did those prehistoric people look like? And why are the stones at Göbekli Tepe vibrating when they hear the song? Are the gods of the ancients awakening? Or maybe something even stranger? If you don't mind, join me for a quick reminder about today's sponsor. Now let's continue. It all started back in 1994 when a Turkish archaeologist named Klaus Schmidt stumbled upon an area of southeastern Turkey where animals had been digging up animal bones and other artifacts. At first, he thought it was nothing unusual, but then his team started finding animal skulls and bones in patterns that suggested the remains were being deliberately buried, not just scattered by wild animals. After more excavations, they also found many pieces of pottery along with crude stone tools and weapons. All of this indicated that the site wasn't just a place where animals happened to dig up bones, but that it was actually an ancient burial ground. Then the discovery turned into something much bigger, because underneath all the burials, the team found the remnants of something monumental. They were excavating layer after layer of sediment, going deeper and deeper into the earth until they hit solid rock. That's when they knew they were on to something big. They had found the foundations of the world's oldest known temple, and it turned out to be far more impressive than anything they could have imagined. Over the next decade, Klaus Schmidt and his team continued working at Göbekli Tepe, slowly revealing its secrets to the world. They found dozens of gigantic T-shaped pillars carved with intricate designs, and each pillar supported by a pair of enormous lions with wings. And even though the heads of these statues were long gone, whatever deities they represented were clearly meant to be intimidating. Their wide eyes stared directly ahead, and they seemed to have sharp claws, teeth, and violent expressions. But the most disturbing thing about these stone guardians was that none of them had faces. Instead, each lion head had a pair of conjoined spirals that served as eyes, and between the eyes was a smaller spiral shape that might have been a nose. The team also found numerous round holes that appeared to have been created either by natural processes or artificial ones. Some of these holes were the size of a basketball, while others were large enough to fit a grown man. The purpose of these holes has never been confirmed, but the prevailing theory is that they were used for rituals and ceremonies. But there was one puzzling feature about the site that nobody could understand. In every culture around the world, The oldest religious sites are circular. Humans have always loved circles because they represent unity, harmony, eternity, and the cyclical nature of life, death, and rebirth. This is why the oldest archaeological sites in Britain, Spain, France, and Germany are all circular burial grounds or ceremonial sites. But Göbekli Tepe was different because its earliest layers were square. How could early humans build such a massive structure without using mortar or cement? And how did they carve those huge T-shaped pillars and move them into place? Nobody knows the answer. All we know is that Göbekli Tepe was built somewhere between 9,500 and 8,000 BC. But back in those days, humans weren't supposed to be advanced enough to build temples, pyramids, Stonehenge, or any other type of complex structure. So whoever built Göbekli Tepe must have been more intelligent than our ancestors, or perhaps they had help from extraterrestrials. Another thing that baffled archaeologists was the apparent absence of human bones. Despite excavating 17 layers of sediment, they hadn't found a single human skeleton or even a small collection of bones. Where were the inhabitants of Göbekli Tepe buried? Were they cremated? What happened to their bodies? Well, finally, in 2018, after over 2 decades of work, the team found something amazing. Underneath the temple structures, they found the skeleton of a young woman who had died sometime before 9,500 BC. She was buried on her side with a stone tool placed near her hand. They nicknamed her the Oracle of Göbekli Tepe. And right beside her, almost like a bodyguard, was the skull of a wolf. At first, scientists thought she might have been buried in a rush because she was only covered with a thin layer of dirt. But after further excavations, they found that she had been deliberately laid to rest in a special chamber beneath the temple floor. While the archaeologists were excavating her tomb, they also found a small stone cylinder with strange grooves in it. They soon realized that it was too small to be a spindle whorl, a tool used for making thread, and that it didn't resemble any other artifact found at the site. So they took it to a museum in Berlin for testing, and they discovered that it was actually a bone flute, the oldest ever found in the region. But that wasn't the only ancient instrument they found. They also discovered a kind of drum made from a hollowed-out log. These 2 artifacts proved that the people who built Göbekli Tepe had a sophisticated understanding of music and acoustics, and they also kept scientists busy for another 20 years as they tried to recreate the sounds of the lost flute and drum. That was until 2023, when a group of researchers led by a German linguist named Daniel Schlegel finally cracked the code. They had managed to reconstruct the sounds of the flute and drum, and they combined them with clay tablets containing ancient musical notations. Using these 3 pieces of evidence, they were able to reconstruct the melody of the world's oldest known song. They called it the lost chant of Göbekli Tepe. But it was only after they had reconstructed the ancient song that they learned something horrifying. There was a secret message encoded in its notes, and it was a warning about what happens when you disturb the slumbering gods. On May 5, 2023, a live stream was organized by a university hospital in Schleswig-Holstein, Germany. Archaeologists and other experts gathered at the hospital to play the lost chant of Göbekli Tepe over the internet. Thousands of people from around the world tuned in to watch. And almost immediately, weird things started to happen. Within seconds of the chant beginning, viewers started reporting strange symptoms. Some said they experienced sudden panic attacks, and others felt like they were having a heart attack. A few people even reported seeing gigantic humanoid figures made of rock standing motionless in stone circles, while others saw strange lights in the sky. But what was really disturbing was that many of the symptoms aligned with epileptic seizures, which is one of the scariest neurological disorders on the planet. People started freaking out, thinking that the song was somehow causing seizures, but Dr. Thomas Hoppe calmed everyone down and explained that the symptoms were probably just hallucinations caused by stress. As the song continued to play, more and more people tuned in to watch and listen, and by the time it was over, more than 50,000 people were watching live. But the whole experience was ruined when one of the doctors on the live stream said something truly stupid. He suggested that people should go to Göbekli Tepe to experience the full effect of the lost chant. And, of course, a bunch of people took him seriously and they went to the archaeological site. But they soon found that the site was closed due to renovations and they couldn't enter. Many of them waited until the next day, hoping to be among the first visitors through the gates. But instead, they were greeted by signs saying that the site would remain closed for at least 5 years. However, the team behind the lost chant didn't care about all the disappointed fans because they were getting ready to do something amazing. On May 10, 2023, exactly 5 days after the first live stream, the team returned to the hospital in Schleswig-Holstein and played the lost chant of Göbekli Tepe again. But this time they brought their instruments and recorded themselves. After the recording was over, they played it back inside Göbekli Tepe and something terrifying happened. The stone pillars started vibrating as if they were coming to life. What does it mean? Why did the stones vibrate? Was the god of Göbekli Tepe awakening? Maybe. To this day, nobody knows what the lost chant of Göbekli Tepe means, who sang it, or what the ancient song is trying to tell us. But the fact that the stone pillars vibrated proves that there is something powerful buried deep inside the earth at Göbekli Tepe. Whatever the case, I think it's safe to say that the lost song of Göbekli Tepe is the greatest archaeological discovery of the 21st century so far. Thanks for watching. What did you think of the lost chant of Göbekli Tepe? Let me know in the comments below, and remember to subscribe if you haven't already. See you next time. Bye.